of course, the final track of the season. It's Homestead Miami Speedway, and it is the final race of the High Tide Racing League Premier Series and season number 5. Welcome to the show. My name is Little Ramble alongside Justin Prince, and for the last time this season, we are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish here on Monday night. 2 drivers are set to enter the arena tonight, but only one of them will be crowned a champion at the end of this one. And Justin, it is a fight that has been brewing all season long, and finally it comes down to just the final 150 laps at the state where it all began, down in Florida.
It's going to be down to, quite simply, who's got the best execution, who's got the best speed, who's got the best luck when it comes to Jaden Hopp and Michael Thorpe Jr. Thorpe Jr. has been having the more red-hot postseason in the road to the chase, but Jaden Hopp has the better overall season when you break it down. Hopp has the most wins, but Thorpe has the most consistency as of late. The gap is 8 coming in. It's going to become 9 with Jaden Hopp on your pull for tonight, but it's going to be clear for Michael Thorpe Jr. to get the job done. He needs to find his way up at the front. He needs to get as many bonus points as possible. He needs Hopp to have some struggles.
Jaden Hopp, of course, pulled out the impossible last week with one heck of a fuel strategy, but Jaden Hopp cannot afford close calls like that here this afternoon. He has got to be on his game all day today, something that Double Zero has been struggling with throughout the postseason, but likewise, Michael Thorpe Jr. also cannot afford any slip-ups, and so far, Thorpe has been struggling to put together some of that long-run pace that we have seen later in the season. However, that's not to say that he can't get the job done when it matters. He's a driver that we have seen rise to the task when he's under pressure before, so he could very well have a similar situation like that here this afternoon. Of course, you have other drivers that are looking to fight for championships, including past champions Benjamin Lacey and Dalton Kilrow. Lacey too far into the points to fight for the title. Kilrow not here at all this afternoon, meaning it is now a 2-horse race up front, and with a 9-point gap entering this final race, it is going to be an intense journey, and not quite a winner-takes-all fight either, because for the first time in High Tide Racing League history, the points are not reset with the final 4 entering the final race.
Yeah, it's going to make it all the more interesting to see who's got the most consistency out of this pack to make sure they take the win. There are a few drivers like Wesley Triplett who can take away potential points on the table, but the main thing is going to be clear, especially for championship contenders. You better find a way to lead laps. You lead the most laps, especially if you're Jaden Hopp. You're untouchable to get up to the front and take away that championship from him. All this as well, we're getting ready for what's going to be a into the nighttime race here at the track. Temperatures getting cooler as the night progresses is the expectation.
It's a High Tide Racing League tradition for the final race of the season to not just be at Miami, one that cruises into the sunset. A nice final touch on the series as we get set to roll into the off-season. And we will, of course, be back with more when we go racing later on at the back end of April and into May as well. So for a lot of drivers, this is their final chance to go for shots of glory, and tonight's a race where we're not just watching the championship fight, but we're also looking out for a lot of the drivers that could potentially be threats going into the next season.
I think Wesley Triplett going to be one of those names potentially if we see him next season be a contender, depending on how things go vehicle-wise. But for some of the others, it's going to be, can you make sure to adapt? Can you make sure to survive to get yourself up to the very front here tonight and over the course of next season? Get yourself a good bit of momentum and an upswing heading into the next season.
Just 15 seconds on the clock before this final race gets underway. There you see Mike Thorpe Jr. putting down one of his final warm-up laps on the day before he's going to look to close out this season. Not quite winner takes all, but it is definitely going to be a game all about strategy and all about who's going to be out where. Homestead Miami Speedway, notoriously one of the races on the schedule with the fewest cautions that High Tide Racing League has to offer. And that, of course, means this one, you could be in it for the long haul. Well, we're getting set to duke it out for 150 laps. It's an extended season finale, and it's time to find out who is going to be starting where. It's championship favorite, the driver that is looking to go for 2 championships in a row for the first time in high-tie race history. Jaden Hopp will start this race from pole position. Wesley Triplett, a driver that if he returns in force could become a serious threat to Hopp's crown, will be lining up alongside him on the front row. Back then on row number 2, it's Benjamin Lacey. He starts alongside Nick Nickerson. Lacey won his first championship here in the inaugural season and will not get the chance to do so this afternoon. Row 3, it's the other championship hopeful. Michael Thorpe Jr. has been trying ever since season 2. Will season 5 finally be the night of the number 34? Dustin Pink, the season 2 champion, starts alongside him. Was not ever in the shot with the chase, but he's looking for some redemption this afternoon. Row 4 in the grid, John Osborne. He starts alongside Scott Shire. And then the top 10 to the top half of the field, closed out by Sean Williams and Ty Marasco in this 19-car grid.
As well, Brian Dees will start at 11th. Kevin Foster will start down to the 12th spot near 3/10 off the pole tonight. Then it will be Paul Zatmary in a blue car tonight. Wesley Peebles down in 14th position. 15th goes to Larry Bell with Bob Berry in the 16th spot this evening. Also in the field, Jonathan Canfield will start down in 17th. William Clapp is in 18th position. Then you have one more car. It's Nicholas Corcel, who didn't put up a qualified lap, who's in your pack. Just about all set to go for tonight. Jaden Hopp apparently tried to ask for a 20-minute delay for Corcel, but that's not going to happen. The field is ready outside of him.
Well, the only question now is who will walk out of this race with a champion? Justin, who's your money on this afternoon?
Well, I think it's going to be hard to beat Hopp. Simple as that. Hopp's got good mile-and-a-half speed. Thorpe Jr. has been really good as well in the stretch, but Hopp has put together a rocket ship for tonight.
Coming off of turn numbers 3 and 4, we're happy that you've joined us throughout this entire season. One final time, we get the party started. It's go, go, go in Miami! Oh, in trouble already. A big crash at the tail of the field. Ty Marasco and Paul Satmar both getting wiped out. A multi-car crash coming to turn number 1. Peebles caught up in this one. Marasco spun into the grass. Critically, Michael Thorpe Jr. was ahead of the melee, and Clapp's front end is also destroyed.
Caution is out, obviously, on the speedway, and, well, I don't know what to say. Normally you don't see that at Homestead Miami Speedway, but we did. I think Marasco had a gearing issue and might have had a money shift.
That is, I believe, the first ever lap 1 incident we have seen out of the high-tie race league at this racetrack. It is a place that notoriously is pretty clean for these guys, so very surprised to see that happen right off the jump. Take a look back. Scott Shire and Ty Marasco, the 2 drivers that really kicked this off. And right there, Marasco went to shift to the 3rd, and the car just didn't cooperate.
Yeah, I think the issues on the shift, he mentioned it hooked straight left on him during the gear shifts on down. Kevin Foster, heavy damage to the rear end from all of that. You had St. Mary spin it around a couple times as a result of that incident. Already chaos brewing.
Watch the middle of the field, outside line for the DQ number 1, and just never shifted, and that's going to result in a multi-car pileup. Kevin Foster, his championship hopes will come to an end as he got caught up in all of this. Take a ride on board with the number 1.
Telling.
That looks like a hardware failure almost, doesn't it?
It looked like he got stuck on the chip and then it hooked hard left on him. I don't know. Well, that's so weird.
Well, the thing that gets me is the fact that the car didn't ping up to the top of the rev limit or the top of the tachometer like you normally see when a car jumps into neutral. He wasn't necessarily on the chip. The RPMs were actually on their way down, so you wonder if maybe one of his pedals disconnected.
That is absolutely weird and fascinating. Marasco, Foster, Satmary, Peebles, Berry, all off track from that. On the bright side, Nicholas Corcel's here. He made it because of that incident. Problem is, his internet doesn't want to cooperate. That might be a big problem.
Now, if he can keep that car steady, this caution early on could be a lifesaver for him. He's only 2 laps down, so 2 more yellow flags, provided nobody else goes a lap down before that. And he could very well get himself back on the lead lap, able to fight for some spots. William Clapp, black flagged as he came down pit road. I believe that would be for passing under the yellow flag. And a tough break for Clapp, who's going to be down and into the box early on as well. A lot of drivers going laps down here early on, it looks like.
Yeah, this is big for some of the drivers that wanted to at least get some good races to end off the season. Right now, Eddie Hagee's right now the best out of the rest, but Munsters, believe, haven't really seen on the track tonight, obviously. So a chance for Dustin Payne to take away 13th. Barasco had a very outside shot for that, or at least to get himself in top 15 of the points. It's looking like that's about to go south, but we're delaying the green. It looks like several cars are still trying to get gathered up. We'll try this again in a lap.
Well, what this does allow us to do is we can jump back again, and this time we'll ride on board with Kevin Foster, the driver that was right behind Ty Marasco. This is what he saw from the dash and never saw it coming.
Yeah, not a tough spot again in terms of the incident that sees a lot of people already pin a lap down with heavy damage. At least this delayed caution or delayed restart allows some drivers to continue to work on their cars. A lot of people taking an opportunity to go right back down pit road for an extra lap.
Hey, why not come down pit road, get a few extra seconds of damage repaired? You're not gonna be able to do much if you want to catch the field, but well, you may as well come down and get something working for you, especially a driver like William Clapp, who's got a black flag already.
Yes, indeed. And right now, as we get sorted out for this field, this burns some laps and really helps out Hop getting more lead laps up on the board to make sure that helps him for the most lead lap category and going forward from there. So the big thing is going to be now, how will things go off this restart? Will we be able to stretch our legs forward, or will we see chaos somehow reign at Homestead, which is not normal?
3 points to the most laps led. Points that, with how many cars are now a lap down, could be the deciding factor in this championship for Jaden Hop. So he is desperate to lead as many points as he possibly can. End of caution number 1 on just the opening lap of this race. We will try it again as the field is going to make their way to the United Rentals restart zone, and we'll do this all over again.
Back it away. Looks like the outside didn't really get fired up as well this time. In fact, Dustin Pink going way back, but already keep an eye on that 34, trying to pick up speed through 1 and 2.
Making ground early on and quickly. There goes Dustin Payne, though, trying to upset the championship run. It's just going to scream to the inside. This is the problem, right, when you're running in a field like this. You got all these drivers that are not fighting for a championship. They still want to go for those last spots of glory here to make a name for themselves in the final race of the season. Making it so you really have to be on your toes every single lap. Jaden Hop up to the front, and right now putting down fastest lap of the race. No surprises there. He's already almost half a second clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, already showing clean air is going to be helpful for him in the short run and probably the long run. The big test will be where the fall-off equalization point ends up being in terms of where the pace evens out. If Hop's able to match, if not be a little bit quicker in it, it's going to be hard to peel him away. Since tonight, unlike most nights, it is where Hop has the track position. Most of the time, Hop has to make it up over the race. Now he's got it already. Payne amongst those, trying to find a way forward, but the 7 shuffles on back in front of him.
Driving hard to the inside is going to be that number 81 of Ping. Just behind them, Sean Williams trying to make an early charge as he's going to go to the inside of Brian Dees, fighting for the 8th place spot as we come off of turn numbers 3 and 4. So out of the 19 cars that started this race, all 19 are back out on the racetrack. That is the good news for this field. In fact, there is Nicholas Corso exiting pit road once again to that connection. Still not agree with him. He is trying, but I feel like Nicholas Corso isn't even going to make it to lap 30 at this rate.
Yes, and right now, as the laps turn about here, Clap amongst those who peel down pit road again, also over the course of this run. D's with all the chaos, at least able to use the outside line. Now, people would say, why not use the outside at Homestead? Remember, at this track on iRacing most of the time, it still will destroy your tires long run. That's why most of the field, at least on this platform, doesn't usually rim ride the top like we would normally see. They will stay at the bottom of the racetrack, preserve the rubber, make sure their Goodyear Eagles don't cook, even though there's dirty air down there.
It's one of those fine lines of knowing when you want to go for that move, because you got to be able to defend it as well. And realistically, you only want to really go to the outside line if you can guarantee that you're going to make up the spot that very lap or potentially even sooner. So Brian Dees making his way to the bottom side of 1 and 2. Still tucked in between Scott Shire and Sean Williams. And right now, bit of a processional race, but this is not something that Homestead Miami Speedway is unfamiliar with, and we can expect to see this continue to be the case for the next several laps here at least.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those races where it's going to be pretty tamish. Normally at some of the racetracks, you see a bit of shuffling on the short run as the long run pace then kicks itself in. But Homestead, it's one of those places, on iRacing at least, that can be hard to pass. And right now, all Jaden Hopp says in his mind is, let's keep doing this. This helps me score more lead laps. Makes it more difficult for the 34 to then have to lead, because the more laps Jaden Hopp stays out front, the more then Thorpe has to then match and then surpass if he somehow was to find his way to gain 2 seconds. It's the rare race where Thorpe is on the back foot to Hopp rather than Hopp being on the back foot to Thorpe.
And this type of race here is exactly what Jaden Hopp was hoping for. And he had a run just like this when he took the championship in season number 4. Just walked away with it. Homestead Miami Speedway, a track that very much agrees with that 00. It is a place that Hopp has thrived on before in the High Tide Racing League. In fact, he's done that twice. He ran away with a race in season 3, proving that he was going to be a big threat. And then he looked to do the same just 1 year ago. So he is looking like he is going to be all set. Definitely the odds-on favorite to win still, but not for lack of trying for Michael Thorpe Jr. He's jumping to the high side, trying to go around the outside of Benjamin Lacey, and he's going to take that 4th place spot away.
It's going to help out a little bit in terms of the point standing, but not enough really. That's only a point in terms of the standings here. Thorpe needs to keep on finding a way to close, and right now, over the past few laps, he's lost 7/10 to Hopp. Looks like he's experimenting though. Why not at this point? You have to, because yeah, a lot of the field, as he said, is going to be running the bottom. But when you're in a battle like this, first of all, you can't just run on top of the air car. But second, you may as well see if you get that power off like we normally see on the high groove. That would work. This case doesn't work because he ran the middle bottom.
Still has an over 3-second deficit to Jaden Hopp that he's having to manage as well. Benjamin Lacey secures the pass for 4th, and Thorpe going to be tucked in a line between 2 past champions from seasons 1 and 2 here in the High Tide Racing League. So Thorpe going to have to try again. You know, Benjamin Lacey, a driver that was hopeful that this season might go back his way. He has not gotten a championship since that inaugural season, all the way back in 2023. But much like drivers like Dustin Ping, it just has not materialized in the late game the way Lacey was hoping for. I know he's going to be looking to come back at this one stronger than ever in season number 6.
Yeah, and right now I think it's a little bit of a challenge right at this point for Lacey. He is already confirmed with the top 3, but still, the connection issues really put him on the back foot. Thorpe Jr., by the way, he is not fuel saving for those wondering, is he clutching codes or anything along those lines. Right now, he's just straight up struggling. Struggling to hold off cars, struggling to keep up grip. I think he's loose, if anything, following along with some of the steering wheel inputs. He's just not comfortable with the car, and this is disastrous when you have to be perfect for this title. Just watch the hands off every corner exit here.
Gonna try to hunt for the inside of Dustin Ping. You can already see that wheel started to twitch just a little bit, and there it is. All that counter steer going into it on the exit of turn 2, and that's gonna scrub off so much speed headed down the back straightaway, and he can only watch as drivers ahead continue to fade further and further into the distance. This race is just falling apart for Thorpe in the early going. Right now, he's got William Clapp in his way, but Clapp did not disrupt the run from Jaden Hopp, who is now 1.7 seconds clear of the field up front.
Yeah, I was about to say, we can do the same thing with Hopp. I think there's a big difference. He's loose a bit too here, Nolan. However, his steering inputs are a lot more smoother. There's not a lot of snap hard twitchiness on it. He's almost got it to where it's very gradual in terms of how he approached the banking, where he's not having to counter steer as much, coming across turn 4 down the hillside for the front straightaway. Then once they go up the hillside, so to speak here, up for the run to turn 2, he just keeps it very gradual, and that's what's really helping him speed-wise. He isn't having to counter steer as bad off 2.
Fight for position up for grabs as well. This is between Larry Bell and Jonathan Canfield for the number 11 spot. Nicholas Corcel is in the mix, but Corcel is 6 laps down. Good news for Corcel, looks like his connection has at least stabilized, so that is something for the Corcel, but now 6 laps down instead of the 2 that he was from that first caution. His race might just about be over. Right now, Canfield wants to see if he can't fight back against the Folgers number 43, Monte Carlo, looking for the inside line, but just not able to get the look that he was needing to attack Larry Bell here. There he goes, though.
Trying to slip in front. Looks like he's able to clear by. That's done for Canfield on the slip up. To be able to clear on by. I think Canfield just a little bit quicker. Larry Bell, noticing, just isn't able to carry as much speed off the corner compared to what the 16's doing right here.
Especially if you can't get to the inside of him in the middle of 3 and 4 when Canfield is running the higher line. So Jonathan Canfield going to pull away with the 11th place spot, but these guys still have over 2 seconds to fight their way back to the likes of John Osborne and co. if they want to keep that fight going. Right now, Brian Dees and Sean Williams being disrupted by William Clappin. This is allowing for Williams to really start to reel the gap into the number 17.
Now, at this point, some of the drivers really need to figure out stuff. Clapp, remember, is already 7 laps down. He spent about 3 minutes fixing the car, and it's currently demolished, so take him out of the equation. Williams, though, for his sake, right now his average speed has been a 10th quicker than Dees. He's picking up tempo on the long run and might have this done pretty quickly. There he goes to the inside to try and get this pass. Going to be hard with Dees blocking off the middle.
Oh, Dees going to slip up in the middle of the racetrack, and that could allow for Sean Williams to get the drive that he really needs down the inside of the 17. Doesn't get him off of turn 4. Might have him here, though, into turn number 1. And sure enough, he's going to look to slip through as Brian Dees maintains his run all the way up on that outside line. But Sean Williams not going for that aggressive pinch that you realistically need if you want to secure a pass down the back chute.
Now Williams at this point just going to wrap the inside line. Dees still not able to find a way to fully get the grips to clear on by Foley, but at the very least these runs will allow him to do so at the least with that higher groove where it's going to hurt his tires a little bit. But this is about the point where if people do move up, this is where you expect it after 20 plus laps.
You saw Williams actually nearly catch the left rear of Dees as they came around through 1 and 2. Brian Dees still able to fend off that 89 entry. One driver that struggled to fend off contenders, Michael Thorpe Jr. continuing to slide backwards. And the number 4 of Scott Shire dropping, trying to see if he can't get around the 34 entry as well. And Thorpe doing everything he can to keep Shire at bay.
Yeah, this is working worse and worse over the course of this run because Thorpe Jr. on his average is slow as those at the end of the top 10. 2/10 slower than drivers like Shire. He's around the pace maybe of Brian Dees. Williams is a little bit quicker than him, if not on top of the same pace. I don't think the 34 has this car where he wants it to be tonight, and that is absolutely unfortunate when you're racing for a championship and you need to be dialed in. Yes, he's going to have the chance to go back and forth here, but at this point, he has lost so much time to the race leader, 6 seconds to Hopp.
It's not enough. He needs to be doing better than this. And right now, He doesn't have that pace under the car to make it work. It's just too lively on the tail end to realistically mount any kind of offensive run on a lot of the drivers around him. He's going to get around Kevin Foster on the outside. Now Shire getting a little bit loose, turns his number 4 down the racetrack. But Thorpe continues to retain the 6th place spot, still half a second outside of a top 5 with Dustin Pink, the next car up the road.
Yeah, this right now is looking good in terms of Shire, in terms of his fan base. Remember, Shire, he was top 5 for most of the regular season, the championship point standings for old school racers. But for whatever reason, things just didn't click into the final couple races to have a chance to even be in position to maybe think about that spot for the top 5. Shire was a consistent driver of the regular season. This postseason just went ice cold most of the way.
At the same pace that we saw early on. Whoa, hold on, look out behind. Brian D spins to the inside, and he pulls it underneath him as he goes down onto the apron. What a save for the 17 entry.
Just dug too much on the inside there. Felt a little bit of pressure from Osborne. He's trying to impress William Scott Riggs tonight, but Dees just stepped out on him. Coming off the corner, came across the seam, and it just started over-rotating off quarter exit like we've seen a lot of people. Oh, Thorpe Jr. spun it.
Oh, and the yellow flag comes out. And that could be what ends this championship as Michael Thorpe Jr. around lap 30 of 150. Still has time to gather this one up. Not seeing a lot of damage on that number 34. He may have gotten away with it.
Yeah, I think he was just fighting that car, swatting flies, battling with Shire while having to get around Wesley Peebles that forced him a different line. But this is a big caution. He's towards the back now. Didn't hit anything at the least. But watch, by the time he gets to 1 and 2, this car is evilly loose.
Off of turn 4. You see him already having to counter steer it. Look at that wheel turning to the right. And then as they make their way down the front straightaway, will it be contact with Scott Shire, or is this going to go around by himself?
Off 2.
Off 2.
Yeah, it's not going to be contact here. Watch, lap traffic is ahead, so that's going to force him down a little bit lower in the first place. So he's going to have to hug that inner seam. Starts clipping it with the left side tires, but he's going to right tell he's starting to spin around right as he hits that seam. Then gets loose, snap loose, can't correct, can't snap right or else he slams the wall, spins it down to the left, and has to lock it down and spin it down to the apron to save the car.
Tell you what, you saw that car wanted to hook right, and that easily would have put him into the outside wall, which would have definitely ended his race. So some good heads up. He has a meatball flag. Thorpe's got a meatball flag. I don't know where from, but he just picked one up as he was coming down pit road.
Did he pop the motor in all that?
No way. There's no way he did that.
I can't figure out where he did that. I think he crashed on pit road.
You're kidding me.
Remember the barrels, you can have it happen. This is the worst twist for his championship. Watch Kevin Foster. Right into the barrels, right into Thorpe.
You're kidding me.
I can't believe it.
I got nothing. I have nothing for you.
That might be the worst possible way to lose a championship. That's one of the 785 GFR cars.
Why did Foster hit the barrels?
He was way offset. I think he just didn't know where he was on the track. And one of the Guardian R Sport cars, the 34, slams in. His teammate Clapp also gets destroyed from it. And that has killed Thorpe's championship. Yes, there's no visual damage per se. Well, it's now popped up in the front end. It's killed.
You saw all the glare from... It almost looked like Foster was already having to wrangle that car. Did you see how aggressively he was turning that wheel to the right there?
Why was he turning to the right to the barrels?
I don't think he was. I think he was struggling to keep the car going straight. That car does have some damage on it from that lap 1 incident. Look, again, you can see it even there. I think it was just following Brian Dees too closely.
That is the most frustrating way I think you can lose a championship at Homestead Miami Speedway. It's not even based on yourself. Yes, you're struggling, but this just handed it to Hop on a silver platter, or not even to the quarter-way mark.
And that's it. There's no one else that can fight him. No one is close enough in the points. Hop's the champion, and we're not even halfway.
Now all Hop has to do is finish the race, get a win.
The fight is over before it even had a chance to begin. Green flag is back in the air on lap 34. And in one of the most perplexing ways, this championship fight is brought to a screeching halt. Nick Nickerson trying to go around the outside of Wesley Triplett as they cruise through 1 and 2.
Now, right now, Nickerson, remember, missed a race already. That pushed him down to 11th in the standings, only ahead of Connor Gibson. If it wasn't for that, we might be talking about him having one of the best chances to battle for the title, because he's got a little bit better speed in many of these tracks to Hop. Already, Triplett's up to second again.
Triplett cruises around the outside of Nickerson like there's nothing between them, and now it is between Triplett and Hop. So Jaden Hop, with now nothing to stop him from running away and becoming the High Tide Race League's first two-time champion, cruising into the sunset into turn numbers 3 and 4. It's all the fight for best of the rest behind in just this race.
And at this point, it's going to be interesting where some of these other championship positions go. Remember, Payton at the very least looking to secure himself the best of the rest. Former series champion now winds his way in the pack. He's been good on the short run at the least in the 81 car, but having to find a way to close. By the way, Thorpe Jr. officially gone. He is officially done.
I'm at a genuine loss for words. I've seen a lot of championships come to a lot of different conclusions. I've never seen one come to a close like that. Whenever a championship ends with a crash, you always expect it to be out there on the racetrack, fighting tooth and nail for every spot you can muster. The last place you expect it to be is not just under caution, but entering pit road from a driver that struck the sand barrels in front of you. I mean, that has got to be 1 in a million type of bad luck odds to be caught in a situation like that.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what he would say after all this. I don't know if he would just even be sticking around at this point to cheer on the teammates, because that is just the most stunning way to lose a championship I think you could have. But Hop had a dominant car coming in, still is a dominant car right now. Hop right now was going to be, and Hop even before that was going to be a hard person to beat, especially with the way Thorpe Jr. was sliding back. So at this point, it becomes a question. Now what happens for the 00 this one? As there is one response for Michael Thorpe Jr. He just sent a gif of things getting smashed.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I do not blame him in the slightest. I'm sure Jaden Hop is aware. He might not know the exact circumstances, but I'm sure he is aware that Thorpe is out of this race, because he would be a driver that would be monitoring that very, very closely. So Hop knows all he's got to do is walk this one out. He does not need to fight this at all. Of course, that's not to say that he wouldn't like to. I'm sure he absolutely would still want to go for a race win, because who doesn't like to win the final race to cinch the championship while you're at it? I mean, that's just making sure that you seal the deal there. And I mean, Jaden Hop, a driver that so far, remember, has won the last 2 races. He is trying to go 3 in a row at Homestead Miami Speedway.
There's a chance he makes the record for most wins very much hard to dip and very difficult to get to from here on out, Nolan. Because a 50% win percentage over the course of a 20-week season, that's Corey Heim type numbers. You know how hard it is to get Corey Heim type numbers on iRacing in most leagues?
Especially in stock car racing, where the racing tends to be so much more unpredictable than road racing, where you usually have your 1 or 2 drivers that will just run away from the field and leave everyone battled out for the scraps behind. But Jaden Hobb, I mean, you can't say that he hasn't earned it. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to win a championship this way, but you cannot say that that is an undeserving champion by any stretch of the imagination. Clapp nearly chopped Benjamin Lacey as they came over turn 4, trying to get to the inside and just get out of the way of 2nd through 4th.
I think it would have been better off staying on the outside and just letting Lacey pass the inside anyway. A little bit of a risky play, and that cost Lacey a couple tenths of a second on the racetrack. Now, I think Clapp is intentionally backing up his corners to make sure he is intentionally paced down to make sure he's out of the way of some of these cars. But noticing on the long run, yet again, these drivers are 3 to 4 tenths off of what Hopp is doing. That is outrageous.
I mean, Jaden Hopp is just in a class of his own. He was last time around here as well, because much like what happened at home, what's been happening so far, last year he came through and took the win after starting on pole, led pretty much every single lap of the race, and it is looking to be no different this afternoon. Nickerson sliding up with Benjamin Lacey to boot, and Wesley Triplett gets the job done as well.
Yep, and Triplett at this point, I think if he was here the full season, he'd be, oh boy, what's going on here? A lot of tire smoke coming up there on the dust. I think Clapp said, you know what, I'm backing down.
And William Clapp potentially with the problem here on lap 34, or his lap 34, coming down pit road. This is off of turn 2. You saw him make a quick pull to the inside. See, was there anything to this? And it doesn't look like it. I think he is just calling it quits for the afternoon. So he gets down and out of the way, goes all the way to the wall to make sure that him slowing down is not going to cause any problems with the rest of the field. And we will have our 3rd retirement. Make that 4th retirement of this race before we even hit lap 50. Nickerson trying to battle against Triplett and Lacey. Lacey to the inside.
Yep, and Lacey at this point just able to smoothly go around on the inside here. Yes, the outside's good for the power off, but again, you're able to do so much for the inside to make these types of moves over the course of this one.
Triplett, Lacey, Nickerson, 2, 3, and 4. I think the real thing that Lacey is gunning for now is can he at least walk out of here with 2nd place in the championship? That would be a big consolation prize for Lacey, but again, I don't see it happening. Lacey would need to close in by 7 points, so I think the absolute worst that Thorpe is going to finish this championship will be in 2nd, but I'm sure that's not much of a consolation to him right now.
Yeah, I don't think that is really too much for him at all. You're talking about still a big difference between the point standings. At this point, my main thought is simple in terms of 7. Yeah, I did the best I could in the circumstances, had a consistent car, just had some technical issues that impacted me at the end of the regular season and for parts of the postseason. So at this point, for Lacey at the very least, it's simple. Just drive the race you can, finish out where you're going to be strong. You already have the advantage by a significant margin for the top 3 in the first place. Some of the drivers who had damage repairs earlier on, the laps down are pitting, but everybody else still has a long time they can go here on their strategies.
John Osborne in the Valvoline Monte Carlo to the inside of Brian Dees. Yet more new colors for that double 7. As he pulls up ahead of Dees, and that will secure the overtake for the 7th place spot as well. Cruising off in a 1 and 2. Sean Williams still in the tail of this shot as well. So a 3-way fight for the 7th, 8th, and 9th place positions. Looking for lap 50 this next time by, and then after that it will be 100 laps to go in the 5th season of the High Tide Racing League Premier Series. And so far, Dees, Osborne, and Williams all still fighting for championship positions here.
Yeah, still opportunities for at least some positions here. Dees, remember, at the very least, trying to make sure he gets himself a top 5 here. John Williams trying to find his way ahead. Some of these competitors to get as high as 6th or 7th in the point standings. Right now is at least up to that 6th position. Dees is up to 4th with how things have broken out at the end of this one. So some impressive drives to end off their seasons here. The sun really starting to become a factor off of turn 4.
Brian Dees' main competition at the points right now is the likes of Scott Shire. Now, Shire is ahead of him, but only 2 points behind in the championship. So if Shire can walk out of here with the podium, he could look to steal away the 4th place spot in the championship here. So that would be big for Scott Shire. It would be a career best high for him as well that he'd be looking to get. Jonathan Canfield as well on offense, as he's going to look to go around the outside of Paul Satmary, running new Lufthansa colors in the number 24.
Yeah, Satmary at this point, remember, once the drivers just looking to finish out strong, went with the different paint scheme for tonight. Things mostly fixed up the car. Just here to have some fun at this point in the season, try and find a way to get to the top 10. Canfield is already up to the top line, wanting to try and secure things. As Sean Williams just said on the radio, we're having fun.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's having a great time right now, trying to see if he can close his way up to John Osborne. Right now, Williams has hit his point ceiling. He is not going to be doing any better than 6 in the points this afternoon, but he is still in a 3-point gap with Coruscant, Osborne, and Nick Nickerson, all of who are in this race. So he is trying to get whatever spots he can muster to get himself a little bit more of a cushion so we can maintain that P6.
Yeah, at this point, I think everyone's just going to simply see where things steady out. Dustin Payne, I know it's slipped back with Osborne, but outside of that, everybody's just trying to race along, score whatever laps they can, score whatever points they can, of course, of this championship. By the way, it is unbelievable what Hop is doing up at the front to emphasize again. It's almost 4 seconds, 3.5 almost, in fact, for the race lead. We restarted this race about 20 plus laps ago. Hop is just that quicker than everybody else, a tenth or two a lap. It looks like he's prepared and wanted to decimate the field and put an exclamation point on the championship, remove all doubt that he had the pace prepared tonight.
I've never been able to figure out where he gets his pace. I've tried to figure it out for seasons now, and I've never found out just how he manages to do it and why no one else has been able to replicate that kind of long-run pace, especially at the mile-and-a-halves like this. No one else has been able to figure it out either. I mean, drivers keep saying time after time, we don't know how he does it. He's just that much faster, and we don't know how. It's a fixed setup, so everyone's running the exact same machinery here. So the fact that he's willing to extract that pace really speaks to the skill behind the wheel of the 00 machine. That's not to say, though, that the other drivers can't have some fun, because one thing, it can get quite lonely up at the front like that. One driver that's not lonely, Dustin Ping, he's fighting that with John Osborne.
Yeah, you still see that right now with Osborne trying to cut his way on the inside. You're cut across the 81. Again, a different look for Osborne here tonight, at least trying to go with a Valvoline look. It's a fitting paint scheme with this race car, we'll say, because Scott Riggs did have some nice looking schemes when he drove this car in the 10 machine back in the day, before it became an Everham Dodge. At this point, Osborne just trying to find a way to chip his way on the inside, one of the faster cars at the racetrack outside this battle.
Osborne going to secure the move. Dustin Payne with a real big bobble coming off the top side of turn 2. Maybe he started to burn his equipment up. And a fight for spots from 1 lap down. You also have Bob Berry and Ty Marasco trying to fight it out with one another. They're going to look to go down the inside as well. So still have plenty of racing yet to be had in the dying stages of this championship. Ty Marasco way up to the high side. And Bob Berry maintains that gap down low, not able to power through. Oh, Todd Baroni might have had a connection issue and dropped out altogether.
Yeah, some of these drivers at this point are at risk of being lapped. And Bob Berry not looking comfortable, just scraped the wall for good measure too. If anything, Berry is looking the opposite most, looking a bit tight back there. Then you look up front, where again, most of the drivers have had the same kind of reaction to their steering. A little bit loose coming off the corners, especially turn 4. It's been a bit of a battle on how well you're able to keep stable in your equipment.
Larry Bell down pit road, and it is an extended stop, and in fact, for Bell, he looks like he is out of the race, bringing his car behind the wall. So we lose another as Sean Williams now cruises to the inside of Dustin Ping. John Osmond has been setting sail with the 6th place spot. And Williams going to maintain that P6 with the championship alive. He secures the overtake on the number 81 as well.
See that right now with Ping, just at this point. Knows that Williams is a little bit quicker, a little bit more stable. This is similar to the last run as well. Try and let things steady out. See where the pace takes him. I think at the very least, he's going to be a top 10 car here based on who's left in the field and the fact we only have 11 on the lead lap. But I mean, it's one of those types of days. You're just trying to make sure you finish out the season as well as you can again to emphasize what has been an attrition-filled start that's turning into one of the long runs we expect here at Homestead.
Of course, this is not the only race we have on Green Flag TV tonight, as you also have the Collegiate Irish League Cup Series out in Mexico City, and right now, a fight for the lead down at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez as Alexander Ortega and James Bowman exchanging a couple of blows to boot. So you got a couple of races picking up here, one on a road course. Just you and I were over in France earlier today, and well, they continue to battle it out down there in Mexico as well. Right now, Dustin Ping and co. still doing a good job of trying to maintain whatever gaps they got, as that was the look for the race lead in CIL.
Yeah, look at that, side by side, door to door. In fact, for some of the drivers as they work themselves across the racetrack there. It's a big contrast, of course, when it comes to tonight for this series, but remember, it's a different flavor of a series. It's a different flavor of car. And remember, High Tide every season changes that flavor because not everyone likes one ice cream flavor of a race car.
Yeah, they have changed every single season. We started in the next-gen cars. We went to the old Gen 4 cars. That was, of course, back when it was really just the ARCA car with extra horsepower. The season after that, it was what is now the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars. After that, it was the ARCA cars. And, well, now we roll to the newer Gen 4 machinery. Next time, it might not be the cars at all. We could be looking at a truck series.
Yeah, potentially. It's going to really be interesting how things drive for those competitors later on in the year. But keep in mind, that's not apples to apples. It's kind of a different truck and a different feel or different flavor in terms of different vehicles in general and how you drive them, and especially with how the downforce is impacted on, say, a truck or an O'Reilly car these days, or even the Cup cars. It's a completely different beast. Hop might be one of your favorites again with that again. But some of the others, there's going to be different contenders that cross over when we change over that vehicle.
The new season, of course, set to kick off sometime in late April or early May, and I'd imagine we would be back for our 6th consecutive season covering these guys as well. Proposed starting dates ranging from April 27th all the way to May 11th. So, of course, we'll keep people updated on, when that gets decided at some point throughout the off season. But right now, the 5th season getting set to draw to a close before too much longer. A lot of the fights started to separate throughout this race. At the moment, Triplett and Lacey are the closest two contenders, but they are about 0.8 of a second apart. One car down pit road is Nicholas Coruscant, continuing to have those tech problems.
Yeah, at this point, it is a major hamper to his race. I think he's still trying as best he can, but on the bright side, he's been nowhere near anybody to cause problems. So just trying to log at least points. That's the best you can at least hope for his sake. D's, for his sake, though, really decent night for him. But down in 9th because long run against been a bit of a killer. He's fallen off by half a second more than everybody else on the lead lap in front of him.
It's just brutal for Brian Dees, and he might fall back one more to the edge of the top 10 because he's got Jonathan Canfield starting to breathe down his neck. Now only a quarter of a second between the two of them. Canfield's been reeling this gap in quite considerably the last several laps. And goes to try to look low. Dees retains, but only for now. as he's got Canfield right there and ready to pounce.
Yeah, look at that roll. Canfield able to make it stick. Carried a lot more speed on center. That allows him to at least peel off the fender. Force D's to have to react down low like that to be able to save the race car. That's what you have to do as a driver, to pass to the outside. Get by center apex, make a pass like that, get it done.
Halfway point is looming, only 6 laps away. Next time by at the line for the drivers of the 16 and the 17. And Jaden Hobb continuing to walk out, now 5.4 second advantage over Wesley Triplet, and it is quickly extending over 5.5. Continuing to run over 1/10 of a second faster every single lap just from second place alone, and you're talking over 1/4 of a second from about 4th on down.
Yeah, at this point, there's been decent gas builds up on the racetrack, and that's kind of a natural thing we've noticed at a circuit like Homestead in terms of some races. The best drivers will find their way to keep up, but you'll see these stretch out a fair bit if you let the runs go the way they are here at Homestead. We're almost at the halfway point, and at this point, some of the true pace really solidifying itself. Osborne is having one of his best 1.5 races of the season, a chance for the top 5.
Dustin Pink comes down pit road, putting into question where things are at in regards to the fuel window for this field. Around the outside goes Osborne, and he's going to look to pick off Nick Nickerson, putting John Osborne into the 5th place spot this afternoon. Osborne having a good outing. Nickerson, not the performance he would have been hoping for this afternoon. Sean Williams could be closing in as well. Currently under half a second back from the Miller Genuine Draft number 2 car as he heads down the front straightaway. Ping 14.4 seconds into the box, and here comes Jonathan Canfield. I think the pit window is open.
Yep, I think it is. 40 laps it looks like for Canfield. Wouldn't be surprised to see drivers go as far as 45. With all the wildness that's been going on, we haven't really gotten a chance to think about the strategy part of this conversation, because if it does go 40, yes, indeed, we're in the spot where we can pit one more time after this point, get to the end. So there isn't likely going to be major strategy plays, Nolan. It's quite simple because of the early caution flags.
Triplet comes down pit road next. He is joined by Nickerson and Satmary. So we're seeing the pit road exodus beginning in earnest. Behind them, Bob Berry also into pit road. And there comes Benjamin Lacey, looking to pit from the number 2 spot, go for an undercut, trying to get something on Jaden Hopp to get some leverage on him. Scott Shire comes down pit road as well. Now the question is, do we see Jaden Hopp responding to the undercut? Here comes Brian Dees as well.
Very active in terms of the lane. Shouldn't be too many issues to make it. The next stop, hearing Sean Williams going to come in this upcoming time by also. See how far some of the others go. The leader is in. That should tell you that he is in very good shape and should be able to still grow the gap after the pit stops. We'll lose a couple seconds with some of the undercut calls here, but the gap's likely to rapidly grow.
So Hopp makes his way into pit road. And I don't think we're going to be seeing Benjamin Lacey going to get around him for the net race lead. I think this is still going to be within the hands of the 00 as he powers off of pit road, and Benjamin Lacey nowhere in sight. He is still coming around through 3 and 4. I mean, Jaden Hopp has gapped Lacey by a long shot, even on the fresh tire call.
Yeah, this is still looking like it's going to be a pretty significant advantage at this point for Osborne, at least trying to overcut to help out his sake. But everybody else is trying to ride off into this sunset. It's turning very orange out here. There was a race that was done just in the past little bit at Bristol, where it seemed like it was a difficulty with lights. It looks like light not going to be an issue here today with all sorts of open space.
Lacey will exit pit road with Wesley Triplet between himself and the 00. And this is looking all safe and sound for Jaden Hopp to continue to walk this one out. We are into the back half of racing action this afternoon. Going to give a quick shout out to the guys that keep the lights on for the High Tide Racing League. This series has been presented by Ohio and Indiana Roofing, a sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise. Specializing in commercial and industrial roofing, they are committed to accommodating the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. They're a team of individuals who work for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. Services they offer include preventative maintenance, re-roof, new construction, infrared scanning, green roof solutions, metal, retrofitting, emergency repair services, and more. Visit www.oiroofing.com for more information. Closest battle on track right now between John Osborne and Ty Marasco, and it is for 8th.
And I'm expecting Osborne to potentially pull away because Marasco is on 31 lap-old tires, by the way. That's the tough thing for some of those that had some of the incidents early, Nolan, is they're now, especially if they took a wave around it at some point, in a very bad box. And that box is an extra pit stop. So they're right now not even close to a pathway, realistically speaking, to maintain, if not be on the lead lap at the end of this race because of the extra sequence, especially with Marasco. That will allow Canfield to move up here. Brian Dees lost a ton of ground in this pit window, by the way, to drop all the way down to 11th.
Tough break for Brian Dees, but he's trying to make the most of it. He's got 2 lap fresher tires than Canfield, and he's looking to exercise that fresh Goodyear rubber, closing the gap to about 4.5 tenths of a second, although it's going to extend a bit. Coming around turns 1 and 2. The stadium lights have officially kicked on over Miami. Dees kicks the tail of that as well, and that's going to scrub off a bit of pace as he hunts down the 16.
See him just trying to dig right now. A little bit fresher tires than the 16. Remember, Dees going to have to figure out a way to preserve the rubber this time, make sure it doesn't burn off. So it's looking like right now with the way he's approaching this, though, Canfield still prefers his top line, but Dees prefers to not even get down to the bottom like a lot of people do. Runs the second line up to try and find some extra speed.
Can't fault either driver for that one. You get a little bit unsettled if you run right down to the bottom when the tires start to wear down, and if you're a guy like Canfield, you just might not feel safe running the inside. You might feel like you have a bit more stability up on the top side of the racetrack, but it's not going to do much for him in terms of speed because he's about to drop down outside of the top 10 as Brian Dees looks to the inside. And in no time flat, that Soul Stealer 17 Monte Carlo will make quick work of Jonathan Canfield.
How quickly? That's up to how Dees approaches this. Canfield's got the better runs coming up the corner. But right now at this point, Dees has the extra advantage of his ability to dig center off. There it is, able to make the move. Might see Canfield try and cross it up. Dees trying to block him for a minute.
Down to the inside, Jonathan Canfield abandoning his run up top to try and battle back on the bottom lane of the racetrack. Pushing up from the inside, Dees continuing to retain that gap up high. Still no joy for the 16 or the 17 as they fight this one down to the inside of 3 and 4. Oh, and contact between the two. Gonna push Brian Dees up the racetrack. Getting a bit physical now between the two.
A little bit of contact, and this should have been done pretty easily. I'm surprised it's gotten to this point with the door-to-door contact. But at this point, if you're Dees, you have to shake that off and say, I know I've got an opportunity to clear here. Get it done before you destroy and murder the tires.
Canfield now going up high, preventing Brian Dees from getting too much of a run up on the top side. Gonna force Dees back to the inside to try to fight this one through the hard way. Both drivers closing on time. Marasco up the road on those 37 lap-old tires. Marasco's going to be down pit road in just a couple laps here as well for his scheduled pit stop of the day. Still making sure that we got to fight somewhere on the racetrack even as we enter the back half of this race with, so far, only 13 of 19 cars left on track.
Yep, and at this point, it's been a interesting run to say the very least here at Homestead, Miami. But I will say they do both have position up for grabs immediately. Marasco, who has to pit pretty soon, is falling right into their lap. We'll see how Canfield and Dees approach it because they might be 3 wide for it.
Oh boy, oh, get a little bit tight now as Brian Dees tucked in behind Canfield and Marasco. And the fight here going to continue to escalate as Dees make that Marasco way up the racetrack. And Canfield and Brian Dees both going to slip through the inside. I think Marasco, that was one of those kind of, okay, message received type of moments. And the 17-16 continue their grudge match.
Yeah, a little bit of argy-barginess here at this point. But right now, Canfield, I think, is almost at the point where he might have better tires than Dees because Dees might be chewing them up with how hard he's pushing to get this done. That's the problem when you try and fight as hard as you do here. You get to the point where you fight, then you're done fighting to realize, oh no, my tires are dead. Osborne, by the way, has caught up for 7th.
Right on cue, Marasco comes down pit road as John Osborne trying to take the spot away from Dustin Ping. This is the battle for 7th in the championship, and Osborne, much like what Brian Dees was wanting to do with Canfield, makes short work of the 81 and starts to cruise away. He is on 5-lap fresher tires than the Ping Precision Auto Glass number 81. And that takes us right back to the fight that just cannot get settled.
Yeah, just can't settle himself in at this point. Again, I just think Dees is going to fall off hard by the time he's done this because they're burning up themselves with this. Here's the funny thing. They're at risk of losing the lead lap in a couple minutes here too, by the way. So it doesn't really matter if they both lose the lead lap. You lose a chance to fight for higher up than this once the 00 passes you for a while.
I feel like for these guys, it's also a case of, you know what? It's the last race of the season. Let's have some fun with it. So they're having a good time with each other. I mean, the racing has been very respectful between the two. There hasn't been, I mean, it's been hard, yes, but there hasn't been any overly egregious moves as, boy, Brian Dees getting a little bit loosey-goosey there coming out of turn 2.
Yet again, another reset, another charge, another let's chew up our tires in the case of Dees. Again, give them credit, they're having a good battle. This is their closest battle on the racetrack at the moment, especially with Osborne now running away from Ping. But I mean, this is still gonna hurt them in the long haul. And by the way, eventually they're gonna have to think about how things are gonna solidify with about 40 to go for their money stop.
I did not anticipate this battle picking up for about 15 laps straight, but these guys have certainly done it. And you could argue that Brian Dees has already burned off the tires enough that he's now matched on pace to Jonathan Canfield in front of him, being unable to find a way to get through. Not for lack of trying. I mean, Brian Dees has been shucking it down the inside every opportunity he's got, but the problem is he doesn't realistically have the momentum he needs to secure that spot right now.
Yeah, at this point, I think, especially now that Dees just hit the wall there, chances are very, very hard to make this forward because he needed to get the job finished. First few laps, now he's destroyed the tires. Now he's at a point where he's going to fade. If not, potentially struggle to get back up there. I think the chances for the battle are gone.
So the battle finally drops away between Brian Dees and Jonathan Canfield. While up front, Jaden Hopp continues to put on a clinic this afternoon. We are over halfway home in the final race of the season, and it is going to be quite a ride from here to the end. Jaden Hopp with nothing to stop him taking his 2nd championship in a row. We'll be back in a moment with more on Green Flag TV. Stay with us. We'll go side by side.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
In the second half and just putting on a show for everyone involved.
Yeah, ever since Bowman got that race lead through the pit strategy, he has checked out. Ortega, he's in P2, really in no man's land at the moment. Now, these are the intervals between cars that we are showing you here right now. So it is a 6.8 second gap between Ortega and Cummings, as it is between Ortega and Bowman at the current moment for P1 and P2. So, keeping our tabs on this right now. 15 laps left to go here in this race. Bowman certainly on track for a W.
Well, nonetheless, you can see a lot of drivers getting into the groove of things on this second set of tires. But for now, where you see also Brendan Lyman getting a little airborne there. But we're going to take a step back, catch our breath a little bit here for the final 10 laps. You will not want to miss it. We will be right back here.
Welcome back to Green Flight TV, where Jaden Hobb continues to dominate the Homestead Miami Speedway, looking for his third straight win here in Miami. Justin, let's get a look top to bottom on the field as they run. Right now, it is Jaden Hobb continuing to lead the way, and nothing is stopping him from walking this one out with his second championship in a row. Triplet back in the number 2 spot. Potentially a contender to look out for next season. Benjamin Lacey, the season 1 champion, running a respectable third place for the time being, with the likes of Nick Nickerson just behind him in third. The likes of Nickerson back then in 4th place spot, with Scott Shire down in 5th. Sean Williams will bring it up in 6th with John Osborne through 7th. And then it is Dustin Ping, Jonathan Campbell, and Brian Dees closing out the top 10.
11th spot right now is held onto by Paul Statmary, looking to survive in the 24 machine after being involved in the first caution. Then Ty Marasco, he's already taken his pit service. He is now a lap down, running down in 12th, 13 lap old tires in the DQ car. Last car running in this race is Bob Berry. He's down in 13th. Nicholas Corcel scored the points he wanted to at the very least. Parked it about 20 minutes ago. He's 14th, 15th. Larry Bell, 16th. Wesley Peebles, 17th. William Clapp, Michael Thorpe Jr., Kevin Foster are amongst those also off the track.
Quite the journey that the field has been on throughout the course of the afternoon. And for those that are just tuning in, the championship is effectively all but decided. Michael Thorpe Jr. had been struggling a lot for pace early on, and then coming down pit road after he had spun it out, he crashes into Kevin Foster, who had struck the sand barrels on his way into pit road. effectively spelled an end to his race. That is why he is one of 6 cars currently out of this race, meaning there is no driver that can contest Jaden Hopp for his 2nd championship. He has just got to finish this race, and he will be taking the win no matter where he comes out in this race from here. Dustin Ping coming down pit road. And this is an interesting call for me here, Justin. Dustin Ping is in with 47 laps to go. I don't think he can go the distance that far.
Yeah, I don't think he's in a good spot at all on fuel. I'm surprised he came down here. I think he's lost a couple spots here on this choice. I think this is going to be a tough play because most of the drivers only got around 43, 44, maybe 45 laps at the most during the last stint.
So that could mean interesting news for our pit stop window. We could be looking at another splash and go by the time we get to the back end of this race. Under 50 laps to go. And the fight we have between Jonathan Campbell and Brian Dees now separated by 1.6 seconds of the gap between the two of them. Continuing to grow here this afternoon. So Jaden Hopp has put all the way up to 7th place now, 1 lap down at least. Wesley Triplet, as much of a driver as we consider him to be a big threat going into the next season, you got to remember, he's still almost 10 seconds. Now he is 10 seconds off of Jaden Hopp. So even Triplet, for all the pace he has shown throughout his part-time schedule, has not been able to mount any kind of a charge on Hopp.
Yeah, this has been the Jaden Hopp show, to say the very least. 3/10 faster than most of the field. Triplet absolutely came to play in terms of his speed. I think no one was expecting the speed of what Hopp's done tonight, though, with how well in control he's remained since the drop of the green flag. Really just solidifies preparation means everything, and I'm guessing Hopp put in a ton of it to be this quick.
Well, the battles continue on as Dustin Ping now fights his way around Ty Marasco. No surprises there, as he is going to have about 16 lap pressure tires, so pretty easy run for him. And Jaden Hopp now holding on to the race lead just ahead of Dustin Ping. Next target up the road going to be John Osborne.
For Osborne, at the very least, again, it's been a solid night. The problem is, I think Osborne lost a lot of time net over the course of the pit stop window with his circumstance. But for Ping, as we follow along with him on the screen, it's going to be the really tough part of, he might have to save fuel, I think, to really get to the end here, as the green light on fuel is a couple laps out.
Well, one thing that we have managed to do is we've actually been able to get a catch up here with Michael Thorpe Jr. So we'll bring the driver, the number 34, into the booth while these guys get the putter around. Michael, no words. I mean, definitely not the way you were hoping to have this night brought to a close. I mean, just talk us through what happened there coming down pit road.
I mean, I honestly don't know. I was just going out pit road like I used to do under caution, and all of a sudden I had a car mode.
Well, definitely not the way you were hoping to end this championship, but talk us through the season at large. Are you still happy with the effort that you've been able to put on over the course of this season? Because you could argue this is the closest you've come to a championship since season 2.
Yeah, those overall season was good. It's just, it really sucks to lose, you know, like that. I know I was struggling. Homestead thought it was my best track. I knew I was just gonna have to give it my all going into the race tonight. But to lose it that way, that one done worse than me getting sick. So.
Well, regardless, it's all eyes now on season number 6. I assume you're going to be back once again for yet another championship with these guys. What do you think you're going to have to do next season to see if you can find yourself in this position again to contend for that first championship?
It's just be mindful because I'm pretty sure we're in the trucks next season, so just be mindful. You know, I'm actually pretty good in the trucks. I just did run the first pretty well. So I'm just looking forward to that. Just got to keep my mindset and stay out of trouble.
Well, another long season is ahead. It's a tough break for the campaign to be brought to a close, but again, proving that that championship is possible, and we'll look to see you again when we go race it again come April and May.
All right, thanks, guys.
Michael Thorpe Jr. coming home number 18 in the race. It'll be second place in the championship for the Golden Garden Autosports contender, and it's always tough to lose a championship that way, but you know, keeping the chin up and just looking forward to the next season now.
Yeah, that's all you can really say is look to the future, try and be able to replicate similar speed, do it again next year, put yourself up for the championship. But we're coming up to 38 to go. Looks like the pit window's open. Triplet went in. Canfield is in on 40. Should see a whole cavalcade of stops coming up.
And with drivers going all the way until 40, that of course means that you are good to go the distance here on fuel if you're coming down the pit road now. So fuel strategy not going to be a big factor in tonight's race. Old School Racers teammates set to battle it out one final time this season as Scott Shire and Sean Williams within 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, getting a little bit close towards the end of the window here. Williams rapidly chipping away this gap by about 1/10 a lap to get here. Remember, they were attached to the hip, some of these team members earlier on the season, Williams and Corcel especially. They found their way again towards each other late in this one. Remember, should see both of these drivers come in pretty much this lap, if not the next. Shire has a little bit less fuel in the tank.
Shire up to the second place spot now, but that is, of course, because we are in the middle of a pit stop cycle and drivers like Jaden Hopp have not come down pit road. Who's going to blink first? Will it be Shire or Williams? They're going to continue to stay out for at least one more lap here. And that will put Shire onto lap 41 on this stint. Have not seen many drivers be able to push it that far.
Yeah, so for the most part, I think everyone's been able to get to 40. I'm surprised some of the drivers have pushed an extra lap out of these runs. Hearing Williams just calling for a pit stop. He's coming down this time. He'll come down and take the service here, as it looks like Shire might be thinking the same thing with the way he's backing up. Going to be trouble for their pit entry.
Oh boy, both drivers, and here goes Williams actually trying to go for the overtake on pit entry. Not able to do it though, so Shire and Williams come down from 3rd and 4th. And they'll cycle out to their usual top 10 positions. Williams really hounded the back of Scott Shire here. And both drivers turn in effectively simultaneously because their pit stops are right behind each other.
Yeah, nicely done in terms of how in sync they were on the pit lane. At the very least, Jaden Hopp in for his final stop of the season in the 00. So that leaves just Osborne and maybe that's about it. Yes, indeed, it is it. There goes the race off pit road between the 4 and the 89. Pretty even. Williams going to try and match toe for toe here. Have a chance for this spot.
And no tire difference this time. It's all going to be down to which one of these drivers can be more assertive when it comes to their tire strategy. Now that they're out of pit road, they're going to clear up. Shire clears Dustin Ping. Sean Williams does not. And that means that now Shire's got quite a buffer between himself and the 89 car that he can work with. That is exactly what Shire was hoping for. Talk about a well-timed pit exit there for the number 4.
Yeah, but look at how Ping's been able to charge up. He's going to be in a tough spot, though. Much older rubber. Should see Ping zipped on by pretty quickly here. If Williams doesn't get the tires up the tip at least, that's a little bit of trouble. Nearly spun him around for a moment.
Just about, but he's able to at least hold things underneath him. John Osborne comes down pit road after 42 laps on his stint, while Ping and Williams continue to battle this one now. Now, Dustin Ping came down 14 laps ago. We do not think he is good to go the distance on fuel. I think Dustin Ping has sorely miscalculated the fuel here in that Ping Precision Autoglass number 81, as Sean Williams going to try to go around the outside. Should be able to make short work on 13-lap pressure tires.
Yeah, now that he's got the tires up the tip, I think he's going to be able to zip by pretty cleanly. Yes, there it goes. Took a bit of work, but finally able to get alongside and on by here as we come up to the final stretch. 32 to go.
Coming up here on Green Flag TV, You're, of course, going to have tomorrow the Aspire Racing and 5-9 Racing Porsche Cup Great Britain Championship. Second to last race of the season at Oulton Park Circuit. From there, the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series alongside the OMSRL Cup Series will both be at Charlotte Motor Speedway, taking a trip to America's home for motorsports. Only one show on Wednesday as the Premier Sim Racing Outlaw Motorsports Truck Series takes to Rockingham. Then on Thursday, while the Mist Racing League's Caswell Glass Company Series looks to conquer the Monster Mile, the Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series goes to the Tricky Triangle as they will get set to go after Pocono after what could only be described as a bloodbath at Martinsville the week prior. SRA out at Talladega. A lot of leagues were out at the biggest, baddest track of the NASCAR circuit just 1 week ago. This week, it's SRA's turn to shine in the spotlight as it is going to be truck racing at Talladega on Saturday night as Dustin Payne goes into the wall.
A little bit too high up the racetrack, scraped the paint off the side of his car. Those older tires really starting to struggle late, and he's already at risk getting lapped here pretty soon. Hop, mind you, is almost up to John Osborne even, who has gone backwards every pit stop. I'm not sure what the 77's done, but he's just completely botched every entry to lose so much ground.
I think for Sean Williams, it was just a case of it took him so long to get around Dustin Payne. He had to burn up so much of his tires in doing so that it just put him massively on the back foot when looking to charge after his teammate. That said, he is trying to reel the gap in. It's down to just 0.7 of a second, so he's going to keep working at him. But it could be quite a bit here before we see Sean Williams be able to fully reel that gap in.
Yeah, right now he's within a second already, but it's going to take a little bit of work for him, I think, to get the chance to pass on by. Have one final battle on the season. It's their closest battle of the racetrack, mind you. He is doing something a little bit different, trying to run the higher line for the middle of the corner, diving off a little bit, get a boost on corner exit. I think there's a chance he chips back in. You can see him trying to change up his line a little bit. Just search for clean air. Go a little bit deeper in the corners too, make it stick.
I'll tell you what, we got 27 laps to go. Let's take a ride on board here with Sean Williams. We'll let you feel the noise on Green Flag TV, and we'll see if he can close the gap to his teammate just up the road, half a second between the two. Despite Sean Williams' best efforts, still unable to close the gap to Scott Shire up the road. Half a second still stands between the two of them as it has throughout the course of this whole race. Justin, you look back at this season as a whole, it's been a season of rarities. I mean, we've seen perplexing incidents. We have seen types of race we never thought we would see before. We have seen drivers we didn't expect to see at the front, being at the front. We've seen records being broken that we thought were insurmountable. I mean, it's been one of the wildest seasons in high tide racing history, dare I say, and it culminates in one of the most perplexing final races that we've seen as well.
Kind of has, to say the very least, but right now for a lot of these drivers, it's, for now, looking to the future, looking to set things up. Obviously, it is absolutely heartbreaking if you're Thorpe to have that happen. But he was already having some difficulties throughout the early parts of that race. I don't know if he'd be up the front if he was still in the race, be able to pick things up differently. It really depends over the course of this race how many people adapt. The one thing that's been certain, no one's been able to adapt to Hop.
The driver of the 00 continues to lead the way by 12.5 seconds now, with only 16 laps to go here at the line. In roughly 9 minutes, Hop will find himself as the new High Tide Racing League champion, and he will be the first driver in their history to go for not just repeat back-to-back champions, but being the first two-time champion in general, which is no small feat when the league's been in operation since 2023, and we're under 5 seasons now.
Guys, showcases the dominance of Hop, is what you can really say. It really depends on what some of the drivers want to do. But at this point, all you can really say is Hop's been the man this season. He's been on pace a lot of the other seasons going. He's going to be a contender no matter what you put him in. He's proven that.
You gotta wonder how assuming we go to the trucks, right? Which obviously unconfirmed, but we've had Michael Thorpe Jr. up in here who's kind of saying the same thing. But assuming we do go to the trucks, you have to wonder how that's going to go, because the trucks is not a vehicle that's easy to run away from. So many races at tracks over a mile end up being pack racing style races. Hop might have his work cut out for him next year, especially if Wesley Triplet makes a return.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be an interesting next season for some of the drivers. We'll say, by the way, on this run, Lacey has a chance to take away the spot for the 74. Slightly fresher tires. Triplet is going the wrong way quick.
Triplet could be in a little bit of trouble here as he looks to battle this one out with Benjamin Lacey. And over the last several laps, you can see Lacey's been trying to reel the gap in. He did lose a 10.5 on lap 134. But he is still keeping that gap under a second, still within the draft of Triplet. And we'll see what the delta is between these two at the line. 137 closes up by another half a tenth. It's not much, but if he keeps punching through that dirty air bubble, he could get there by the end of the race.
There is an opportunity. He is a little bit quicker, just chipping away. That's all you can really say in that mark. So I'm really impressed with what we're seeing in Lacey be able to find some extra speed late. It's in a really decent spot to be able to go one step higher and really cap off what's been a solid season for the 7. Not a great season with the technical issues, but a very, very solid one. I'd say a B+, A-.
Half a second now between the two. Critically, Wesley Triplet is able to utilize some of the draft from Bob Berry just in front of him to help him close that, to help him maintain that gap. And that's going to be critical here, because Bob Berry could be the make or break point here when it comes to Benjamin Lacey and this fight for second in the race, depending on how it comes to getting around Bob Berry and if he's going to let these guys through that much of a fuss. He does go up high, and it looks like Wesley Triplet will at least be able to clear him without any dramas. Lacey, will he be able to do the same? He will. They're both through.
Yep, I think at this point, lap traffic's not the major concern, at least to me, Nolan. I think for the most part, if there's traffic, it's mostly been cordial tonight. Gaps are pretty big. You only have 13 cars on the track. Just race it out amongst yourselves. Don't let traffic be the end-all be-all. In fact, there's not going to be any traffic for the next little bit.
10 laps to go. It'll be 9 at the line. This is not the only battle we have up for grabs. Jonathan Canfield and Brian Dees are also looking to be a little bit closer. Still 6 tenths between the two of them. That was down to 4 just a little bit ago, but it looks like Canfield has also been able to get a sniff of the toe from Nick Nickerson up the road, which is going to help him maintain that gap to Brian Dees, the driver that has given Canfield a bit of a headache for much of the back half of this race. And that's not looking to change in the closing laps here.
Yeah, again, these two have kind of fought pretty hard, to say the least. Dees is losing ground at the wrong time, though, to have a chance back at Canfield one more time for the 8th spot. But remember, part of the reason this interval's the way it is, Dees had a longer stop in total, 16 seconds in the box, to Canfield's 15. So obviously, a little mistake on the entry by Dees might have cost him.
All the while drivers like Triplett and Lacey continue to eke out the gap more and more to each other. Lacey, he brought the gap down to 0.4 of a second. That has now been extended to almost 7. Triplett stretching his legs now that Bob Berry is no longer a factor. And Lacey, try as he may, he's really trying to rip that outside line. He so badly wants to get one more spot, but right now just doesn't have it to go for the run.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's going to require a bit more mistakes from Triplett here. Triplett's moved up the racetrack already to take away the high groove, give dirty air even a little bit here to Lacey. It's going to cause some issues. Lacey, I'm surprised, isn't trying to run the bottom here, try and chip away that way. He's committed to try and run the floorboards.
Canfield and Dees keeping each other honest. Half a second, less than that between the two. Brian Dees does have 2 lap pressure tires that he's going to try to work with to see if he can reel that gap in. Just 5 laps to go this next time through. Time is quickly running out for Brian Dees if he wants to go for an 8th place spot in this race.
Yeah, I think right now, Canfield, even with that slide coming in, is going to help a little bit for him, but I think Dees might be a little bit in a tougher spot here, even with the fresher tires. Yet again, Dees has burned up his stuff. He did the same thing he's done the last time. Struggled over the course of this run. At the end of it, at least, to cap it off. 5 to go.
Five to go. And for Jaden Hopp, he's going to look to make it 4. Cruising around. It has been a season to remember for Jaden Hopp. He has reset the record for most amount of wins in a row. He has reset the record for most wins in a single season. He has reset the record for the most wins of any High Tide Racing League driver. And now looking to go out with one more bang thing, not just another win, but he is also looking set to become the High Tide Racing League's first repeat champion. You cannot say this season has been anything short of pure domination from the 00 from start to finish. It was looking dicey at the start of the chase. Not anymore.
Yeah, now at this point for Jaden Hopp, just has to put an exclamation point on what's been a dominant season. He absolutely eviscerated the field over the course of the regular season. The chase looked to be human for a little bit. For at least 3-4 races straight, the gap closed down with Thorpe taking advantage. But now he's ready to put a cap on everything with less than 2 to go. Look at this, Canfield's loose.
Canfield crossed up a little bit. Brian Dees gonna try to make that look to get around him. Now Canfield goes defensive up on the high side. They will have 2 trips to settle this fight between the duo. Jaden Hop out of turn 4, making his way down the front straightaway. He will officially take the white flag. 1 lap to go. Coming into today, Jaden Hop has already had a record-setting season, and as the season is set to draw to a close, out of the 20 races in this season, 18 of those he will finish inside the top 10. 17 he will finish in the top 5. And as he makes his way around into turn numbers 3 and 4, he will officially get the 50% win record. It is his 10th win of the season, his 3rd at Homestead Miami Speedway, and Jaden Hop, the Season 5 champion and the first driver to officially be a repeat champion in the High Tide Racing League.
What a day, what an effort, what a drive. I think he's going to have to eventually realize he can back off, but this battle is not done between Canfield and Dees. Then Canfield's got it, but Hop absolutely obliterated the field on the way to celebration time. Last car's finish, Hop can celebrate.
And he is going to do so in style. He does catch the wall, so it will not be a completely clean car after this one, but you have to wonder, had Michael Thorpe Jr. not hit the pit road, what could have been? I don't think it would have stopped Hop. I don't think it mattered too much at the end of the day because Hop just had all the pace to get it. There's a reason why this is his 3rd win at Homestead Miami Speedway in a row. He was always going to be the man to beat coming into tonight, and he can be more than happy to celebrate his 2nd championship in a row.
And he is absolutely pumped with the way he's burning it on down, destroying this race car. He destroyed the field tonight in dominating fashion. What a night for car 00. And he is celebrating to his fittest another championship for Hop.
This will be his 20th career win overall as well. And to my knowledge, in no league on Greenflight TV except for the Beer League do we have one driver with more than 20 wins. He will, I believe, be the 3rd ever driver in the history of this channel to hit that number. Really showing that he just had it all in him this afternoon. This was all going to be the story of Jaden Hop. And just like that, Season 5 draws to a close. Taking a look at your official post-race results, your new champion, and the repeat champion as well, standing at the top, 16.3 seconds clear of a potential rival for Season 6, Wesley Triplett. Benjamin Lacey walks out of this one with a 3rd place spot at the end of the day. Nick Nickerson will finish in 4th, Shire in 5th, and Williams, the last car in the lead lap, in 6th. 1 lap down was John Osborne. Jonathan Canfield fended off the battle from Brian Dees at the tail end, with Dustin Ping closing this one out in 10th.
11th spot went to Paul Satberry. 12th with Ty Marasco. Bob Berry. 13th was the last car finished. Nicholas Corcel DNF with 91 to go. Then Larry Bell at 93. William Clapp pulled down after issues early. Peebles, Thorpe Jr., and Foster with the other entries in your field today.
What a way to close out what has been a perplexing, insane season on Greenflight TV. Let's take a rundown and we'll give a chat to the driver that can once again put the crown atop his head this afternoon. It is the Arizona native Jaden Hop coming home with his 20th career win, 10th in the season, and with this, his 2nd championship as well. Jaden Hop, you're officially the first ever repeat champion in the High Tide Racing League. How does it feel that for the 2nd season in a row, you can call yourself number 1?
I'd say it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good to end the season. Gen 4 was a lot of fun. Kind of wish that it didn't end like that for Thorpe. He was really good, and I would have liked to see that battle it out to the end, but feels good to finish the season off, we'll say that.
Overall, this one has been the story about records being broken, about records being set, and obviously for you, it's a huge day for this 00 because, I mean, you have put on a record-setting season that we very rarely ever see on Greenflight TV. What do you think your chances are that you could potentially go for the hat trick when we roll around to Season 6, sorry, Because this is your third Homestead win in a row, so it's up there.
Really close. It's my fourth one in a row. I've won every time we've come here in this league, but I don't know. It's the trucks next season. I kind of like the car. I don't know if the drivers will appreciate me winning a third one. So I just go out and have fun and see how it goes.
Well, with the NASCAR trucks looking like they could be all but confirmed, one thing we've been talking about a lot is who might be the potential rivals going into the next season here. But who are you keeping an eye out for if we get everybody returning full time?
Oh, God. I don't know. I've barely driven the truck. I don't know. Wesley's been pretty quick. Thorpe has been good. I'm not sure how they are in the truck, but we'll find out. Although, that Ben guy, if there's anybody I can say is my rival, it's definitely him. Yeah, I'm going to have to beat him.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then when we go racing once again towards the end of spring. Congratulations on your second championship in a row, your 10th win this season, and 20th of your High Tire Racing League career. And we'll see you once again towards the end of April or the start of May whenever we go racing next in the High Tire Racing League.
Thank you. Hope to see you guys there.
Jaden Hopp comes home number 1 this afternoon. Justin, you've been able to catch up with the driver that could be a huge threat for next season. Wesley Triplett brings it up in number 2.
Yes, indeed. Wesley Triplett now joining us here at the broadcast booth. Wesley, didn't have nothing to match up with Hop tonight, but you sure did for second spot. How would you describe what was going through your mind as the night went on here at Homestead?
I was just praying somebody would come race me. I was so alone all race. I spent 150 laps trying to think of a good excuse of why Jaden's 16 seconds out in front of me, and you know what? Couldn't come up with a good one, so he wins this time.
Yeah, so overall, talking about the whole season, you came in about the midway point of this campaign, were a threat for the onset. How would you describe that feel of having speed from the get-go when it comes to high tide?
I mean, I don't know. I'm going to try to bring some teammates in here, run with me, and try to bring, a few drivers up. That always makes it funner when you got a few more teammates with you. But yeah, I'm excited to run a whole season, see how I can do on points. But shoot, after that race, I feel like Jaden's just let me win a couple races. I don't know what to think at this point now. That man's got me spooked.
So, what are the expectations then in terms of those efforts you mentioned that you're planning to put in for next season for the full campaign with the truck?
Well, me and a few guys that I race with, we're really good about putting in sessions during the week and running practice laps for whatever we're excited about, and so I guess we'll just keep rolling with that and see if we can put up some good finish positions next season.
Anybody want to give a shout out to here today?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you to everybody in this league for, letting me jump in halfway through, beating some doors with everybody, keeping it clean for the most part. Thanks to the admins, man. Thanks to, shout out to you guys, man. Y'all do a crazy good job with the broadcast, and I'm going to be sure to watch this one back tomorrow.
Congratulations on the run here today.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
Wesley Triplett coming away with the top 2 this evening. There was someone that did keep him company towards the end. Benjamin Lacey came away with the top 3. He's with you, Nolan.
Ben, this championship is brought to a close, and for you, it looks like it is going to end up being a third-place run for the overall championship. Overall, I would say a pretty good race for you as far as things go. You finished third in the race, third in the championship. Talk us through the season as a whole, because this one has always been a bit of a doozy.
Third best, apparently. No, it was a fun season overall. Jaden, hats off to him, man. He put on a clinic, and I'm real excited to see about his future of in iRacing and see where that all turns out. And then obviously, if he continues racing here, it's going to make all of us better and push to be harder. And I'm going to say there's going to be I was talking to him earlier, we're going to put a bop on him of 100. And then he's got to pit one more time next season to make it fair for everyone. No, jokes. But, Yeah, he's a high caliber, and then Thorpe had a great season as well. It kind of sucks in the way it did for him tonight. I was just looking at some of that, it kind of blows. But would have been fun to watch him and Thorpe battle it out here today. And but overall for us, it was a great season. A little bit of a struggle there at the top of the season, with some technical issues. There's been kind of a storyline through here, but we've got those figured out, and we're starting to able to put some good positive finishes away and end up getting 1 W for the season. So I'll take all of that.
Kind of talk us about what's coming up next, because obviously you were mentioning to us that it is going to be the stock trucks that we're going to for season number 6 here. That's going to be a first, and frankly, because I never saw the High Tide Race League moving away from the usual cars and over to the trucks. What do you think is going to be up next for this 75 Racing number 7 here?
I think we're going to switch over to a Dodge instead of a Ford. I've always kind of loved Dodge in NASCAR, so I'm real excited about that. We'll see how the trucks go. I think they've had a little bit of work done on them here in the last couple updates, where they've made them a little better rather than so draft heavy. I think they've made the aero kind of a little bit more dependent, and you got to play with the throttle a little more. So I hope that's true, we'll see how that plays. But I hope it's not another repeat of ARCA season. What was that, last season, where we just had caution fest after caution fest? So hopefully that's not the case. But testament to the drivers here. We got about 20 out here tonight, and some good racing and some just little tiny mistakes with this car, which is kind of a handful. In the trucks, I think, are a little easier to drive. So if we get some more drivers out there, we can push a field of around 30, and then I think we can actually do some pretty good racing with the trucks, and I'm real excited about what that's going to look like.
Well, it's going to be a season to remember for sure when we come back towards the end of April or the start of May. But Ben, 3rd place tonight will net you 3rd place in the championship, and we'll see if that number 7 will finally be back to the number 1 spot at the end of season number 6 in a few months here.
I'm hoping so. We'll give it a shot.
Benjamin Lacey comes home 3rd this afternoon in both the championship and the race, and Justin, for the final time this season, that brings our show to a conclusion here this afternoon. What an afternoon. Definitely was not anticipating for the championship to go down the way it did, but sometimes that just be how the cookie crumbles, and all eyes are now on season 6.
Absolutely, especially with how things went in terms of the wildness of the season. I'm very, very curious to see which drivers are able to propel themselves to the top when it comes to the trucks next season. And better yet, how these drivers really differentiate themselves to find their way to the top step in High Tide throughout the rest of the year.
It has been a wild 20 weeks of racing. We have had everything. We've had the thrills, we've had the spills, we've had the dominations, we've had the upsets, and we have had everything in between. A big thank you once again to Ohio and Indiana Roofing for coming on board throughout the entirety of Season 5, and for TWRS Setup Shops for coming on up in the back half of the season as well. And of course, a big thank you not just to you guys for watching us along at home, but for the High Tide Race League for having us on board for a 5th consecutive season to continue to bring you one stellar series here on Monday night. My name is Will Rambo once again alongside Justin Prains. Thank you all so much for joining us in Season 6. It might feel like a long ways away, but trust me, it is going to be upon us before you know it. We close the chapter on Homestead, and we'll be back once again in Daytona for season number 6, when the trucks roar to life at the world center of racing. And we'll see you all next time for more on Green Flag TV.